You squeeze it every morning. Before Sheffield's tube, dentists doled out toothpaste in jars. Imagine scooping goop like mayo at a picnic, but way less tasty. It all started with Washington Sheffield, who patented the first toothpaste tube in 1892, a total game changer.
Aha, Doodles.
Washington Sheffield was about to seal the deal, literally, with a revolutionary tube innovation inspired by the French, who used similar packaging for art supplies since the 1800s. Turns out painters had a better idea. In 1841, John Goff Rand invented the collapsible metal tube for paint. No spills, no mess, just squeeze. So why didn't toothpaste switch sooner? Because the first tubes leaked like sieves. Tin, zinc, lead. None of them played nice with gooey paste. Sheffield's clever squeeze tube design was later improved by Colgate in 1896, who made the tubes more sturdy and user-friendly. Washington Sheffield lived in New London, Connecticut, and clearly wasn't a fan of messy toothpaste jars. Washington Sheffield came up with a game-changing solution, a metal crimp that kept the toothpaste from oozing out. Sheffield's clever crimp spread like wildfire, with toothpaste makers like Colgate quickly adopting the design to save on costly returns. Colgate was already a household name, with its toothpaste being sold in jars since 1873, before jumping on the crimp tube bandwagon. Colgate started using those nifty crimp tubes in 1896, courtesy of a clever tweak by Washington Sheffield. Sheffield sued. The courtroom showdown was messy. Accusations, counter-accusations, and a single question: who really owned the crimp? In the end, Washington Sheffield's clever crimp design became the standard, and his patent was granted in 1892. Sheffield's innovative crimp helped reduce waste and costs for companies like Colgate, a total game changer. Turns out by 1942, the U.S. War Production Board had slapped a big nope on civilian tin. So your tube got a wartime glow-up with aluminum, like swapping a tank for a soda can. World War II had gobbled up every spare ounce of tin and zinc. The government needed it for bullets, not bathroom shelves. Colgate had to get creative, since the War Production Board limited civilian use of tin to just 30% of pre-war levels. Enter aluminum. It was already winning the war, used in planes, cans, even ration kits. Now it was time to conquer your sink. The crimp. That was the secret. A single fold at the bottom, sealed so tight not even a drop of paste could escape. By 1948, a single factory in New Jersey was pumping out 500 tubes per minute, each one lighter, brighter, and ready for the atomic age. Enter Colgate's game-changing 1945 patent for laminate tubes, which sealed the deal for tin's demise. By 1959, Procter & Gamble's Crest rolled out the first mass-market aluminum tube, so sleek, it looked like it moonwalked straight from NASA's scrap heap. Colgate introduced the standy tube in the 1960s, trying to perfect the stand-up design with a clever tilt mechanism. Turns out, the tilt angle came straight from NASA's Skylab zero-gravity tests, because if it could stand in space, it could stand in your sink. But here's the twist, the old crimp. It wasn't just for looks. It had a secret life. Turns out, Dr. Sheffield's 1892 collapsible tube was basically a toothpaste burrito, folded so tight, it squeezed out air like a subway door at rush hour. And get this, it keeps your toothpaste fresh for years. No preservatives, no magic, just metal and physics. Turns out, Colgate-Palmolive tested a zip-top tube in 1984. New Jersey focus groups hated it, calling it fiddly as a ketchup packet at a picnic. Colgate's 1984 zip-top flop wasn't the only rebel. Procter & Gamble quietly buried its own push-up tube in Cincinnati tests the very next year. So there you are, 1980. The crimp is king. Every tube in every bathroom has that same little fold at the bottom. Enter Colgate's genius engineer, John Browning, who perfected the crimping process in the 1950s. Colgate's secret crimp inspired other companies like Procter & Gamble to develop their own versions. Then P&G's engineer, John Seymour, figured out how to make a similar crimp, and it was a total game changer. And somehow that worked. P&G reverse engineered the Crimp machine within months. The toothpaste wars had a new front. But here's the twist. Even today, the exact Crimp design, still a trade secret. No one outside the big brands knows the precise fold angles. The real hero behind the Crimp is John Mason, who patented a similar fold in 1858, paving the way for modern tubes. Earl's clever Crimp helped Colgate and others save millions by reducing waste and using less tube material. Enter the pump toothpaste of the 1990s. No more squeezing, just press a button. Sounds genius, right? Turns out, the plastic pump tasted like regret and melted under hot water. Pump toothpaste was a mess, and manufacturers needed a better way to seal those tubes pronto. That's when a clever engineer, John Harris, came up with a nifty solution, a metal crimp to seal those tubes tight. By the 1890s, Sheffield, a British engineer, made this crimp a game changer for toothpaste tubes everywhere, and it stuck. So why did the humble metal crimp survive? Because it just works. No moving parts, no explosions, no minty regret. Just a simple fold that's been doing its job for over a century. Colgate's clever crimp was likely inspired by Sheffield, a city famous for its metalwork, where a similar technique was used to seal tin cans. Colgate's metal crimp was a game changer, making their toothpaste tubes stand out on pharmacy shelves like a shiny new penny. Thanks to Colgate's clever engineering, their tubes could be sealed with a mere 1/8 inch of wasted space. Talk about a squeeze. That crimp isn't just decoration. It's the unsung hero of packaging, holding everything from antibiotic cream to, yes, rocket fuel gel. Colgate started using these crimp tubes in the 1890s, and they quickly became the standard, like Ziplocs for toothpaste. But here's the kicker. Science still can't find a better material. Plastic tubes, they crack. Paper soaks through. Even titanium's too stiff. Enter aluminum, the unlikely hero that's been saving the squeeze since the 1890s with its flexible, yet strong personality. Mason's tube was so slick, Colgate snapped it up in 1873, turning a painter's trick into the world's first mass-market minty squeezer. But Sheffield's 1892 crimp wasn't just a seal. It was a tiny fortress against germs, using a 1/4-inch fold of lead-free tin to lock out air like a bouncer at a bacteria nightclub. Every time you squeeze, you're finishing a fight that started in 1892, when one dentist refused to let his invention die. Sheffield's crimp was so stubborn it survived 2 world wars. Even GI rations shipped with those same little folds, because nothing says morale boost like a leak-free tube of Ipana at the Battle of the Bulge. Enter Unilever's 1960s Tokyo plant. Engineers ditched the crimp for a sleek heat seal, trading leak-proof mornings for a factory line that runs like a K-pop choreo. Turns out, Tokyo's heat seal saved yen 200 million a year, but the paste still staged a jailbreak, leaving a sad, half-empty tube that looks like it lost a fight with a vending machine. So why does the rest of the world stick with the crimp? Because it's the only design that's lasted 130 years without a single upgrade. It's all thanks to Washington Sheffield, who pioneered the crimp in 1892, making tubes way less messy. And now you'll never squeeze the same way again.